Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are so glad to have you all here as we prepare for Intuitive Julie Ryan. Her website, askjulieryan.com. We're going to have a great time with her tonight about communicating with spirits. Ooh, ghostly. But first, we need to say hello to each and every one of you because that's how we kick things off around these parts, including Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Necessary Dialogue with a silver. Eternity Eternal with a bronze medal tonight. And let's get it going. Race Fan, how you doing? Nice to see you. T-Bone, my man, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. Connie Waldrep. Connie Waldrep, welcome to SOR Chat. How are you? Thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. Robert Lamoth, how you doing? Bar Madison, thanks for coming on in. Kitty, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, 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 very much. Moving on down, we have Frankie B. and Lisa Smith is here. Lisa Smith will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Road Flare, how are you? Necessary Dialogue, thank you for that great super chat. We appreciate it. The lovely, the talented Deanna Ann, how are you tonight, beautiful? Thank you for coming on in. Jaquetta, how are you? Shane Gord, thanks for coming on in. Flubber Lane and Millennium, my man, nice to have you both here. Luscious Jules, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, and Jay Truth, nice to have you all here as well. Aussie Boss Tiger, thank you for joining us. Al Garay over on Twitch. So excited about Julie Ryan coming on the show tonight that he did 333 crystal ball curls in 3 minutes, 33 seconds at the gym this evening. Good job, Al Garay. I bet you barely broke a sweat. I bet you did. Kurt M., how you doing? Nice to have you here. Walter Kochubinski, Undead Jed, and Fapster. How you doing, buddy? Nice to have you all here. Fap, you're highly unattractive. Just wanted to remind you about that. And you got web feet, just so you know. All right, Escape from Blue Jersey is here. Escape from Blue Jersey will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. East Coast Turnaround on X, thank you for joining us. Josephus, how you doing, my friend? Nice to see you here. Feed Me Seymour, thank you for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you can't talk about intuitive talks with ghosts without being lubed up. So, Mel, thank you for lubing us up as we speak. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot of that as well, okay? You know what happened last time when you didn't. Now it's time to make sure that you do. All right. Oh, I'm never going to let you live that down, Mel. Never. You knew I was right. Skip to Malou, good morning to you in Denmark. I'm Hardcore over on X. How are you? And who else do we have here? Oh, let's just scroll on down. Scrolling on down. Snow Baby. Divine Diamond. How are you two ladies doing tonight? Welcome. And of course, let's see here. Oh, thanks, Fap. Turn down the brightness, Dave. Too much of your giant head and bright beard and lettuce. That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. God, I love that guy. I don't know why. I mean, if we were walking down the main drag in Vegas, I would definitely trip him. I totally would, because that's the kind of guy I am. All right, let's get the radio side going, shall we? Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Julie Ryan here, intuitive from askjulieryan.com. We're going to bring her in here. We're going to know what it's like to talk with ghosts and spirits and all sorts of kinetic stuff that we're going to get into. Why not? Let us build our consciousness together tonight. Carol Amario, how are you? As we are roll call on our YouTube side. I think we're actually caught up, though. Let's see here. Anybody else? No, we're caught up. We are caught up. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Don't forget to shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. Throw those horns up. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin walls. We're together. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot. Read the Newswire. Check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Caribou Con. We want to see you all up here in the heart of British Columbia, September 18th through 20th. Go to cariboucon.com. Get your VIP tickets today. We're going to have an amazing show tonight. We are going to learn how to talk with our spirits, ghosts, entities, and maybe, find out a little bit about our Zen and Chi as well. Julie Ryan, intuitive, is going to be here. It's her first time on the show, so we're going to bring her in here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another spooky story. Then, right after that, it's the UFO report with Grant Baker. It's going to be a good one. There's been some good news coming through the pipe here, and we're going to get to that here coming on up. So sit back, relax, let old Davey do all the work, because Julie Ryan is a psychic medium and medical intuitive who has spent decades helping people understand the energetic and spiritual aspects of life, health, and consciousness. Known as a buffet of psychicness. Oh my God, I love that term. I got to say it again. Buffet of psychicness. That is a t-shirt. Julie has the ability to sense medical conditions and illnesses, facilitate energy and energetic healings, communicate with spirits, both living and deceased, scan animals, access past life information. I might try that with her tonight. And provide insight into how close a person may be to the end of life. Oh my God, that one I don't want to know. Her work literally bridges the worlds of science, spirituality, intuition, offering a unique perspective on the unforeseen forces that influence our lives. Her website is askjulieryan.com. Once again, askjulieryan.com. Let's bring in the buffet of psychicness, Julie Ryan. Oh my gosh, I love that. I absolutely love that. How did you come up with that?
I think it was just a divine download, Dave, and I loved it so much I trademarked it.
Oh, you did? Damn it! Because I was going to ask if I could make a T-shirt of that on my website.
You can, yeah.
Yeah, but you might sue me then, and then
No,
I
no,
got
no,
to pay you
no, just put my
royalties.
website underneath it, and then
Oh,
you can do it.
that out. I will
Yeah,
have. That
yeah.
is beautiful. Buffet of psychicness.
Thank you.
Julie, thank you so much for joining us for the first time on this show. You know, one of the big things that a lot of people would love to do, after a loved one passes or a best friend or somebody important in our life passes, we're always like, you know what? I wish I could talk to them again. I wish I could have that communication. When did this communication start with you? And when did you figure out that it wasn't just, imaginary people in your brain?
Well, I've learned how to do this stuff, Dave, and I teach people all over the world how to do this, how to do the buffet of psychicness. I am not a psychic who had dead people chasing her as a child, or if I did, I didn't know it, let alone what I would have done with that. I'm a businesswoman and an inventor of surgical devices sold throughout the world. So I'm a businesswoman who learned how to do woo woo.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No
Everybody
kidding.
can learn. We all have the ability. We're all born with it.
Okay, you have to take me through this now because this intrigues me because a lot of business people who are focused on their careers, their family, getting their bank accounts built up, maybe driving a nice car, having a massage every couple of weeks instead of once every 9 months like myself. Okay, you literally live the top of the world. What brought you into the realm of learning your spirituality?
Well, and I am one of those crazy entrepreneurs, Dave. I have founded 9 companies in 5 industries. And like I said, invented and manufactured surgical devices, some of which are still being sold 30 years later. They're sold globally. So what happened, what the catalyst for me was a friend more than 30 years ago gave me a book called Anatomy of the Spirit by a woman named Carolyn Mace. And she called herself a medical intuitive. And I thought, well, what the heck is that? I'd never heard that term before. And I had been in the hospital supply business at that point for about 10 years and had invented devices and was manufacturing them. And so I was helping people heal, but I never knew what a medical intuitive was. That was a new word for me. So back then, we didn't have the internet yet. And I did the old fashioned thing, Dave, and I went to a bookstore to see if there was anything else that I could learn or read about. And on that trip, I found a book called Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan. Now, Barbara Brennan, Dr. Barbara Brennan, PhD, was a former NASA physicist who parlayed very complex quantum physics principles into understandable English for the non-scientific mind. That would be me. And she taught people how to use energy to help facilitate healing. And that really intrigued me. So I called her school and I said, you guys got anybody teaching this stuff in my area? And sure enough, they did. They had a graduate who had just opened her own school. And I studied with her for 6 years. Fast forward all these years later, back then people were saying to me, why are you doing this? And I'd say, I don't know. And they'd say, what are you going to do with it? I said, again, I have no clue. It's just interesting. And now fast forward more than 30 years and I'm doing it full time and having a blast.
Being the creator of your own domain, did you ever, before you started on this, think that, there was something different about life that you needed to learn? I mean, you'd worked in the medical field, you'd created inventions, you've done everything you could scientifically. What made you all of a sudden think that maybe there was something spiritually out there for you?
I think I was really being led. I was raised Roman Catholic, went to 12 years Catholic schools. I think Catholics have a really good springboard of angels and saints and the Holy Spirit and stuff like that. So we have kind of a baseline that there's more to the story than meets the eye. I remember being in grade school and asking my teacher, Sister Mary Rebecca, about something. And she said, well, it's a mystery. And I remember thinking, well, that's not a very good answer. I want more information. So I think I'm just naturally curious. And when I look back on it now, I know I was being led.
I got kicked in the butt.
Oh, you did
I did.
in grade school?
No, my spiritual awakening, the phenomena literally just beat it into me.
What
And
happened?
December 13th, 2011 at 7:48 p.m. or 7:45 p.m. I
Yeah.
saw the angel of death in my mother's eyes.
Oh.
And I wasn't supposed to see him,
Mm,
but I did.
mhm,
And I knew because when she looked at me, my mother's beautiful blue eyes were jet black and her pupils were white.
mhm.
And I kind of cocked my head and I'm like, and my mom kind of had this look of shock, like, oh, you see me. And then she shook her head and her eyes went blue again. But I knew what I was looking at.
Yeah.
And 2 hours later, not knowing what channeling was, I ended up channeling the angel of death for 38 minutes.
Wow.
And he told me that I was not supposed to see him, but because I did, he felt he owed me a an explanation.
Mhm,
And I ended up learning that my mom was indeed ill. She was a 2-time cancer survivor,
mhm.
and that he said, I don't recall all of it. It was recorded back in the old iPhone 3 days. Okay, remember the old blue screen of death?
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
what killed the audio. But, I remember him saying that, if we wanted to keep my mom alive, we as a family needed to start showing her more love. And if we didn't, he said he was going to take her home. He didn't say heaven, didn't say hell. He said, take her home. So I said, well, what do you want me to do? He says, tell your family. And so I told everybody but my dad what had happened, and it changed my life. And 11 years later, this is where I am talking to
Wow.
people like you about these awesomely weird subjects that,
Mhm.
have put us on this path to spiritual growth.
How long did your mom last until she passed?
That was in 2011. She passed away in 2023.
Wow. Long time. That's great.
You would have never met my son.
Mm.
And the day before she passed, she met my grandson.
Oh.
Yeah. And she spent about 90 minutes with him, filling him with love.
How wonderful.
And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Believe it or not, I still have not cried for my mom
Mm.
because so much good spiritually happened prior to that. And it was a blessing. It
Yeah.
was an absolute blessing for it to happen. But it's just one of those things. Do I miss her? Of course I do. It's not like I didn't get along with my mom. And why didn't you cry, Dave? Well, I didn't cry because you know what? I was happy for her.
Exactly.
I was happy for, and what made me happy is what I got to tell you this because this is kind of cool. So I lost my nephew to fentanyl in 2018.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was 15 years old when my nephew was born. And he, if you looked at him, you would never know. He was a gym rat. He, just big, bulky son of a gun, but he had an addiction. And when we lost him in 2018, that was pretty hard. That one hit me because I grew up with him. But a couple days before my mom passed, I was driving down the canyon through the Cascade Mountains, to get from my house in British Columbia down towards near Vancouver, where my mom was in the hospital in her hospice. And I remember I broke down. There was a road construction going on, and I broke down. And I said, I remember saying to my nephew, his name was Bryce, but I call him Stewie. And I said, hey, Stu, I need you here. I said, Grandma's going to cross over soon, and I need you to be there. And all of a sudden in his voice, I hear this, huh, dude, uncle, I got this. What are you worried about?
Yeah.
And the cool part about it was when my mom passed, well, a couple days later, the cool part about it was my sister, that was her only child who passed. And my sister was holding my mom's hand, or the day before, pardon me, the day before mom passed, my sisters are sitting in front of my mom, and I'm standing behind my mom. And my mom is talking to somebody to the left of my sister, or to my left, my mom's left. And my eldest sister says, Mom, who are you talking to? She goes, I'm talking to Bryce. And my sister, of course, freaked out in a good way. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? And she pointed like right there.
Yeah.
And I just started laughing. And I looked at my sister. I said, I told you he's here for this. He's going to help her cross.
Right.
He's going to help her cross. Right. So the next day, when my mom passed, my dad had to run out. I was late getting to the hospice because the drive-through was broken at the coffee shop. And so I was late and I was stuck in the drive-through and I couldn't get out. And my sister was sitting there holding my mom's hand. And what's really cool is knowing that my nephew was there to comfort his mom and his grandma, to take his grandma's hand to cross her over. Like, how can I be emotional over that? But it's such an amazing story, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I just wanted to share that with you because it was kind of cool.
Well, that's what my book, Angelic Attendants, is all about, Dave. It's about how we're all surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as we're transitioning. There's lots of information out there about the afterlife and about near-death experience and even about grief, but there's not much really readily available about what's happening when somebody's dying, and that's what we're all afraid of. People say, my parish priest said one time from the pulpit, you'll love this, he said, people are afraid because they don't know if they're going to fly or they're going to fry. and so the bottom line is, the thing that's the most exciting about this is there's university-based research now that shows that 90% of people see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets and angels as they're transitioning, either in dreams or in visions. And we all thought all along, well, grandma's just hallucinating. It's from the morphine that hospice has given her. That is not the case. 90% of people, and you talk to every family has stories like the one you just told. And by the way, the angel of death to whom you referred earlier, that was your mother's guardian angel. That wasn't the angel of death. That was your mother's guardian angel. Because when you were telling the story, I'm hearing, that's not the angel of death. That was her guardian angel, which I think makes the story even sweeter when you think about it, because look, you had all that time to really shower her with love and let her know how much she meant to all of you. So
Oh, yeah.
how wonderful. And I'll be delighted to teach you this evening and everybody listening and watching how to communicate with any spirit, whether they're alive, attached to a body, or whether they're in heaven.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Julie Ryan is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about 5.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Her website, askjulieryan.com. Why do we fear death so much?
I think it's the fear of the unknown, number one. And number two, it's just because, especially in our Western world, we've been so inundated by religions and cultures to, you better do this or you're going to go burn in hell for forever. And everybody goes to heaven. There was a movie out in the 1980s, Dave, you may remember it or hearing about it, called All Dogs Go to Heaven. Well, all people go to heaven too. All spirits are pure love. And the thing that's the most amazing about it is people are afraid of things they don't understand or they don't know. I mean, we just automatically go into fear on that. And when you're with somebody who's dying, not only are we having advanced grief with the thought of them not being around, but we're all questioning, oh God, we're going to be there ourselves one day. And so that's why my Angelic Attendants book has been so well received by so many people around the world and is given out by many churches and synagogues, churches of all denominations. And now I'm working with the US military to get it distributed to people that are active duty and also veterans and families who've lost somebody in military service. And, you think about that, really, the US military is going to be distributing this book. That tells you how readily available the need is and also the information to help comfort people.
Very cool. Very cool. I like it. I think it's wonderful that you are doing this and that you are trying to help people communicate and feel better about this side because
Yeah.
one of the things that we've lost a lot of is our connection to the spirit world. Many people don't believe it anymore because we're too interested in staring down at our phone than picking up the signals that spirit actually gives us. And yet we are all being guided. It's whether or not, and this is where the free will comes in, we're all making a choice on whether or not to listen to that little spiritual voice that we all have in our system, aren't we?
Well, we are, and we're all hardwired when we're born. Every small child, I have a whole series of children's books called the Angel Messages series, and they're picture books. And every small child can communicate with and see spirits until their grown-ups say, "Oh, honey, it's just your imagination. It's not really real." And they learn to shut it down. And then later in life, a lot of the times they want to reawaken it. But what I'm finding is that more and more people now are interested in spirituality in conjunction sometimes with organized religions, sometimes not at all. And certainly it's been around since the beginning of time. The indigenous people have been doing spiritual things since, you know, humanity was begun. I have a great story about how this book all came about, and it involves a dead pope. So we may want to wait until after the break to tell that story, but it's really fun and it's very, I think, illustrative of really the need of and the want of people to know this information.
We got about 2 minutes to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Julie Ryan is our guest tonight. We'll hold off on that,
Okay.
topic until we get back. But, you seem to have a lot of peace. Like, I know our radio audience can't see you, but I mean, this entire first half hour of the show, you haven't stopped smiling. You have just this beautiful energy about you. Why? How did you find that peace?
Age. Just lived a long time, Dave, probably. I was talking with a graduate of my class earlier this evening who just lost her grandfather, her beloved grandfather, and she said, "Oh my gosh, before I took your class, I would have been a mess. I would have been so weepy and not able to function." And she said, at his funeral, and I was there when he passed, she said, "It gives me such comfort to know really I can communicate with him anytime, any place." She said, "I can talk to him way more easily now than I could when he was alive on the phone." And she said, "I don't fear death anymore." She said, "When the time comes," she said, "not today, hopefully, but when the time comes," she said, "I'm looking at it as an adventure almost because of all the things that she's learned." And it just gives me so much joy to be able to help people every morning when I get up. I say, "Okay, God, show me what you want me to do. How can I serve?" And oh my gosh, have the ideas flown in over the last several years since I decided to do this full time. And it's the most fun I've ever had. I remember I told you I started 9 companies in 5 industries. So this is by far the most fun of any of them.
And probably the most rewarding as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I get to meet these amazing people like you from all over the
Oh,
world, and
thank you.
what a joy.
Thank you. I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Intuitive Julie Ryan is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Connecting with the spirit world is where we're going. I want you to come along for the ride here in the second half hour. Sit back, relax. We'll be right back. All right, we are clear. Good start.
Yes,
All right,
yes,
that was
you're
fun.
you're a master at this. I was on terrestrial radio for a couple of years, so
You know what I'm
we
talking about, man.
simulcast with the podcast. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, but I just wasn't getting any mileage out of it. I get way more mileage of just doing the podcast and the YouTube stuff.
I'm too stubborn to give up on radio. I love
Yeah,
radio.
yeah.
I do.
You're
And
very good at it. Do you have another job or is this what you do full time?
I have a daytime job too as I continue to build this. This is a labor of love, you know. It really is.
This is kinda like a Canadian coast to coast almost, it sounds like.
The funny part about it is the majority of our audience is in the United States.
Yeah. I've been on coast to coast, I think 3 times, I believe, so far, and so isn't that funny?
I love George.
My late mother-in-law she listened to Coast for decades back when Art Bell was doing it
Oh, how could you not?
when she
When I
began.
when
Yeah,
I worked in the radio newsroom, we actually had one computer dedicated to listening to the other station at night so
yeah.
we could listen to Art Bell.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just give me 2 seconds here quickly. Hi, Dr. Bob. How you doing? Jeff Steve Garvey is here. He'll hit a home run for you. And Jerry Elmore, how you doing? It's been a while. Right. And who else is here? Boondock, how are you? Hi, Scoose. How you doing? And we're caught up. We're caught up. I like to say hello to all my audience.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We
Yeah.
do a live stream on my call-in show on Thursday nights. We do 2 interview shows and then a live show Thursday nights. So we're
Meanwhile,
releasing 3
Brad,
shows
as
a
the
week.
devil put aside for me. How you doing? And Mark SRT Wolf, how you doing? Nice to see you. Sorry for cutting you off there.
No,
I
no, no.
apologize. That was rude.
Nope. Please.
We got about 3 minutes.
Yeah, great. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing this story about your mom. That's
Oh, yeah.
it's really extraordinary.
You know what's funny is the first Christmas without her,
Mm,
I saw her.
yeah.
I was at because we were at my dad's house. He wanted one more Christmas at home. And so I was wrapping presents. It's about 1:30 in the morning, and I'm sitting at the kitchen table, and I see something out of the corner of my eye, which goes through the kitchen into my dad's living room. And my dad's bedroom was just next to the living room. And I turned and I looked and I watched the shadow of my mom
Yeah.
walk right through
Yeah.
that. My mom to this day has not come to me.
She has. You just haven't been tuned in to her frequency. I'm gonna teach you how to do
That's
that.
what I was going to ask.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll teach you how to do that.
Yeah, because my nephew, I can get my nephew anytime.
Yeah.
My grandfather, and it's funny, like going back to when my nephew passed away. I astral traveled that night because I needed to know that he was safe
Uh-huh.
on the other side.
Yeah.
And I didn't know where he died, but I knew it was in a park.
Oh.
And I went and I astral traveled to I actually asked my daughter to do it with me. And she lives 4 hours away, and we were on the phone together. And her and I went to this park, and my 2 grandfathers were there, and my grandmother was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, my sister was pregnant with my nephew when my grandmother passed.
Uh-huh.
And so she never met him physically. So I remember seeing my two grandfathers. They both said hello to me, and my grandmother, who I hadn't seen since 1988. She looked up at me, smiled, and she looked down at him, and he was sleeping on a bench. And I remember her just kind of just smiling. She had the most beautiful smile on her face, and I just went, it's your turn, Grandma. You never got to on this side. It's your turn.
Yeah.
And I get goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But
you need to be in my class, Dave. Come join us in Atlanta in the fall, weekend before Halloween. It's 3 days. Well, it's 2 days.
busy time.
It's over a weekend.
It's my busy time. I will try.
Come on.
We got 15 seconds. Thank you to Necessary Dialogue. Thank you to Kitty Cattywhack. Those are our super chatters for tonight so far. If you haven't yet, give us a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithms. And here we go, everybody. We are into the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are talking tonight with Julie Ryan, an intuitive who gave up her business career life of inventions to follow her spiritual path. It's a pretty cool story if you missed the first half hour. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Her website, askjulieryan.com. It's Julie Ryan's first time on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking about connecting with the spiritual side. How do we do it? Why do we want to do it? Why are we so afraid of it? Well, let's ask the expert herself. Julie, welcome back.
Thank you. May I share the story about how this all came about with what I call the 12 phases of transition when somebody's dying?
Please do.
When my mother was dying in 2002, Dave, we got a call and she lived about 9 hours from us. So we drove through the night, my husband and my young son, Jonathan was 10 at the time, to get to Columbus, Ohio. I live in Birmingham, Alabama, in the southeastern part of the U.S. And when I got there, my mom she wasn't really able to talk at that point. And it was very sudden. She was in a hospice facility and had been transferred over. So I was seeing angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets, as I'd mentioned before. And this was the first time I'd ever been around anybody that was dying. And it was just, I felt like the Lady of Justice statue where my heart was breaking on one side and I was watching all this glorious stuff on the other side. And I'd been studying woo-woo probably about 10 years at that point. But it was the first time I'd ever been around anybody who was dying. So fast forward a couple of years later, and I'm with my mentor and she's doing a healing on me. And I was laying on a massage table face up. I had my blankie on. And when she's doing a healing on me, my deceased loved ones line both sides of the table because they participate in the healing and I can see them and I can talk to them and all of that. Even my late dog, Katie, is on her hind legs and her little paws are on this side of the table and she's participating as well. So this one day when I was at her office, Dave, this dead Pope spirit walked in and he had his Pope hat on and his shepherd's rod and the whole 9 yards. And I said, well, who are you? And he said, I'm Clement. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I'm so sorry. I never heard of a Pope Clement. And he started laughing and he said, well, I was number 6. I said, okay, great. How may I help you? And he said, you're supposed to teach the world what happens when somebody dies, because it's been so bastardized throughout the ages. And you know what happens. Everybody goes to heaven. You're all surrounded by angels and spirits of loved ones and all of that. And he said, so you just need to get on with it, teach the world. I started laughing and I said, well, thanks so much for the kind offer. But you see, I'm a businesswoman and people will think I'm nuts if I do that. And he laughed again, Dave, and he said, yeah. Everything you've done in your career has prepared you for this. So you just need to get on with it. And I again said, thank you for stopping by, but I'm really not interested. So 15 minutes later or so, Dave, I'm in my car. I'm getting ready to drive home. And I look up on my phone, Pope Clement the Sixth. Well, come to find out, this guy was in office during the Black Plague when 2/3 of Europe died. And he's best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead. And I'm like, God, Ryan, you can't make that up. And so he's been my main spirit guide ever since. So that's how I got into this, really, with both feet. And then it took a couple more signs from the divine for me to say, okay, I'll do it. Because I really thought it would hurt my companies if people saw me doing all this woo-woo stuff. Woo, by the way, in Taoism means source. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah. And woo-woo is just a fun word.
It is a very fun word. That's why we have a woo train around here, so people can ride the woo train.
There you go.
That's the way we do it around these parts. For you, as you started finding this out, how did your perception of death and afterlife change?
Totally changed, because it's glorious. There's nothing to be afraid of. Everybody goes to heaven. And people say to me, but what about mass murderers? What about Hitler? What about whomever? And I'll say that was a role they were playing. Everybody's spirit is pure love, but it's like we're all actors in a play or a movie. And we choose things that we want to explore and experience in our lives. So the interesting thing about when somebody's dying is it's the maternal spirit that's closest to the person who's dying who runs the show from the spirit world. My mother's deceased. When I'm dying, it will be my mother who will come in and run the show, bring in the angels, bring in the other spirits of deceased loved ones and pets, which surprised me a lot. I thought God certainly has a death division in heaven. And he's like, oh, Betty Sue's ready to transition. Send an angel to go help Betty Sue. That's not what I perceive. And what I've coined, Dave, over the years is what I call the 12 phases of transition. And it's how the angels and the loved ones and the pets are positioned around the person who's dying. And throughout the years, I've had so many people say to me, oh, my mom was just awful. Well, my mom's the last person I want at my bedside, her spirit or in person, when I'm dying. And I say, yeah, that was a role she was playing. When you get to heaven, you can give her an Academy Award, take her an Oscar, and say, Mom, you were awful, but you played a really good role. And so it's been really fascinating over the years when somebody's dying. And on AskJulieRyan.com, there is a chart that you can download on the 12 phases of transition. And I was working with somebody earlier today, and I said, download that chart, save it on your phone, because she has a loved one in the end stages of life. And I said, just ask, what phase is grandma in? And you'll hear a number. First thing, as fast as you can snap your fingers in your head, and then you can refer to the chart and see where the angels and the loved ones are positioned. One other really important point to remember too, Dave, is that time doesn't exist in the spirit world. Time's a human creation. So everybody's surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets, whether they die instantly, like in the case of a homicide or suicide, or whether they die over a prolonged period of time. Everybody goes through the 12 phases of transition. I've seen it thousands of times.
What if they refuse, though?
They can't refuse.
Okay, so what about a spirit? And let me finish this, though. Let's say you're in a car accident.
Mm-hmm.
You die, but you don't know you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
What happens?
Same thing. 12 phases of transition. When you said, well, what if they refuse? It's kind of like, what if somebody, if a fetus refuses to be born? Well, certainly that's that spirit's prerogative. of when we're born, to whom we're born, the circumstances into which we're born, so that our lives can have a trajectory to be able to explore and experience whatever our spirit wants to. And the same in death. We all decide where we go, when we go, how we go, who's with us or not when we go, and what the circumstances are that surround our death. When we say, well, gosh, I've been suffering because I wasn't there with my mom when she took her last breath. Like you were talking about, you were stuck in the drive-through line to get a cup of coffee. Your mom orchestrated that.
Oh, I knew that right off
Yeah.
the bat.
Yeah.
She didn't want my dad or myself there.
She didn't want you there. And we say, well, why wouldn't she want you there? Well, because for whatever reason, there are a bazillion reasons. Perhaps she thought it would be too hard on you. When my mother died, I was the only one with her. And the nurses kept telling me, she's just telling all of us, she's just come from the hospital. She's well hydrated. She's going to last a couple weeks. And I'm going, yeah, I don't think so, based on what I'm seeing. And again, that was the first time that I saw it, the 12 phases of transition, but I knew intuitively she wasn't going to make it through the night, and she didn't. So I stayed with her, and I was the only one there with her when she passed.
What's it like when you transition over? So let's say I'll use me as an example. Let's say I died at the age of 9. Would I go over to the other side as a kid, or would I go to become an adult? Or what if I die at like 85 years old or 90 years old? What am I going over there all wrinkly and looking like a shell of the human I was?
Well, it's been my experience that spirits always show up to us, Dave, in a way that we can recognize who they are. So if you know somebody who's 9 when they die, who's a child, that's how they're going to show up to you. Spirits are pure energy, and they can take whatever form they want. Again, it's been my experience when somebody who's elderly and perhaps sick, when that spirit shows themselves to us, they're, in most instances, I can't think of an instance that isn't like this, where they're whole, they're healthy. That's how they appear. So somebody perhaps that was elderly and used a walker or was in a wheelchair, they're going to be standing up, and they're not going to have the walker or a cane or the wheelchair, but you're going to know who they are. I do that all the time. And so do my graduates. We describe who the spirits are that are assembled around their loved one at the end of their lives. And they're going, oh, that's Grandma Millie. And that's, Fido, my dog. And that's whatever. I saw recently in the last couple of months, Dave, it just cracked me up. It's the first time I've ever seen this in all these years. I saw wild animals, like African animals, around a man and who was dying. And I said to his wife, does that mean anything to you? I saw like rhinos and elephants and giraffes and lions and tigers. And she said, absolutely. He was a member of the Peace Corps for 10 years, and he worked on a wildlife refuge. Well, there you go. You can't make this stuff up. It's just, there's too much proof that comes from this when I describe the people or the pets, or when my own mother was dying, there were all these pets there that I didn't know who they were. Certainly the pets we'd had when I was a child, their spirits were there, but even my guinea pig, Ralph, was there. And so at my mom's funeral, at her wake, my uncle had flown in from Kansas City, and I was describing these dogs, and he said, oh yeah, he knew every name. He said, that's so-and-so and that's so-and-so. This was in the 1920s and 30s that these dogs were alive, but he could name everyone as I described them.
How did we go from, going prior to the 20th, early in the 20th century, people were very spiritual. They were trying to communicate with their loved ones on the other sides. It wasn't frowned upon by religions at that time,
right?
And religious leaders. What happened? Because now every time you try and connect with somebody on the spiritual side, and I run a ghost tour at our local museum, Okay. And I'm in the paranormal like 24/7. Okay. And I still have people coming up. You don't know what you're dealing with. You don't know you're playing with demons. You're playing with evil spirits. You shouldn't be doing that. And I say, well, do you have any experience? No, but the Bible says, well, I'm not going to get into a religious debate with them or on this show, but there are people who, prior to the early 20th century, this was common ground, what you're teaching us
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, in every culture, every religion. Interestingly enough, in 2016, the late Pope Francis issued a papal bull, which is kind of like a bulletin to all, or a newsletter, if you will, to all of his pastors around the world. And he said that he encouraged them to welcome psychics and healers because they are doing the work of the Holy Spirit. That came from the Vatican, for God's sakes. And I can send you the link if you want to share it with your viewers and your listeners to that papal bull. But I think that it's all connected, Dave, with when the witches, I'm using air quotes for those of you listening, when the witches were burned at the stake, the witches were the healers. They were herbalists. They were the homeopathic doctors and people in the towns that would help people get well with the natural elements that are found throughout the earth. And part of that was to get people involved with Western medicine as we know it today, prescription surgery, procedures, which make up our Western medical model, of which I participated for 30 years. And so I think a lot of that came about with that. I'll tell you the thing that I think also that had a big effect was when the Exorcist came out,
Right.
and they used a Ouija board as part of that movie to bring in the evil spirits. Evil spirits don't exist. They've been used to control the masses with fear since the beginning of time. What controls people better than fear? And so anyways, back to the Ouija board. Every home had a Ouija board. We used to play with them at slumber parties when I was growing up. We'd try and bring in spirits and try and get the skinniest, lightest girl to levitate. We'd put 2 fingers on both hands underneath them. We were never able to do it. But the thing that's so interesting about the Ouija board, 2 points, Dave. Number one, it still is the best-selling game ever. Milton Bradley made it. Every home had one. And secondly, it's patented. So wouldn't you have loved to have been the patent examiner at the office when they brought in the Ouija board and he granted them a patent because it worked and it did what they were claiming it did? I find that fascinating. But I think that was in like the 70s when that movie came out, and people then became afraid of a lot of this. But funerals were held in people's homes. The wakes were in homes. They weren't in funeral homes early on. And so as we've become more proof-based in wanting to know that something's really true, and we don't believe it unless we've got research on it. Well, now there's research to support it. As I mentioned earlier, 90% of people see the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets.
What about angry spirits? Because look, I know that I have ran into my share of angry spirits, and I don't think there are as many demons as TikTok and Ghost Adventures will tell you that there is out there.
No.
Okay, but there are some angry spirits for one way or another. Maybe they had a horrible life that they carried over to the other side, or maybe they weren't ready to go and they're a little upset about that, or whatever it may be. What creates an angry spirit on the other side?
It's the person's perception of that spirit. And it's been my experience doing this for, again, more than 30 years. All spirits are pure love. I've heard that from spirits so many times that it's just not even a question anymore for me. And so what happens is when we go into fear because we're not used to seeing spirits, or we'll, get goosebumps or something, and we're on a ghost tour that you're leading, and we think, oh, this is somebody evil. Well, that's based on our human frame of reference, because we've read scary books or we've watched scary movies. When I was a kid, on Friday nights in Columbus, Ohio, they had Chiller Theater. And it was all these horror movies. And again, at slumber parties, all my girlfriends and I, we'd scare each other to death. And then we'd bring out the Ouija board and try and get spirits to come in. So the thing about it is, it's our perception of that spirit. And I'll give you an example here in a minute. But when you think about it, when we're in fear, what happens? We immediately go into fight or flight. Fight or flight is an autonomic nervous system response. And when we're in fight or flight, our cortisol levels go up, our norepinephrine levels go up, and the blood drains from our brain and goes to our heart and our extremities so we can run away from whatever the perceived fear is. So we lose clarity. And so that's what's happening. It's somebody's perception. There are no evil spirits. They don't exist. May I share a quick story with you? Do we have time?
We have 4 minutes. Bring it
Okay.
on.
All right. So one of my dear girlfriends, who's in heaven now, she passed a couple of years ago. Before I met her, she told me I had an evil spirit trying to come into my house. And I said, well, there are no evil spirits. So tell me about it. And she was telling me, and I can do an instant replay on anything because time doesn't exist in the spirit world. You can go front, you can go back. It doesn't matter. So there was a spirit coming through her very thick wooden front doors, and it was distorted. It looked like, remember the bank robbers when they used to put pantyhose on their heads to disguise themselves? This looked like a spirit that had pantyhose on its head. It was distorted because the spirit was coming through this very dense door. And my girlfriend had an umbrella stand next to the front door, and one of her son's golf clubs was in there. So she got the golf clubs. She's ready to swing at it. And I was laughing at her. I said, really, do you think that would have helped you be swinging at air? There's no mass there. There's no matter. And so what we got, long story short, was she told it to leave. It did leave, but then I was able to communicate with that spirit. That spirit was looking for its daughter. It was a male spirit showing itself as a male. Spirits don't have a sex, but that's how it was showing itself. And what we figured out was that her daughter was the reincarnated daughter of this spirit that was looking for his daughter. He was coming to visit his daughter. We got his name, we got his birthday, we got where he lived. We were able to corroborate all of it with historic documentation, Dave. There are no evil spirits.
Some may disagree with you on that, and I'm sure you have an argument for that.
Yeah, all spirits are pure love. It's the person's perception, and it's because they're afraid. So they're thinking all these crazy thoughts, and it's based on their own frame of reference from the movies they've seen and whatever they've read. Like, how many Stephen King novels have you read?
0.
Yeah.
Right. But I know I've had interaction with some spirits that are not. And look, I don't go looking for it. I really don't.
Yeah.
I'm more of a guy who likes to be in the forest trying to communicate with Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Right. But I can tell you that there are spirits out there, at least that I have dealt with at our museum, that are not. There's a couple of them because we get a lot of transient spirits that are very, let's say, not so nice. I've been attacked.
Yeah. What happened?
They literally cling into you. They try and get into you. You have to cleanse yourselves. And then the next day you feel like you went 3 rounds with a bottle of tequila. Right. But I've never been hurt by them.
Yeah. All spirits are pure love. There may be another explanation for that.
What about trickster spirits then?
Tricksters, again, it's all our perception. It's all how we're receiving the information. No spirit's ever going to do anything that's going to harm anybody. They're doing things to try and get your attention, perhaps, but all spirits are pure love.
Human spirits. What if they're not human spirits?
You mean if they're alien spirits?
No, just maybe I don't want to say from the devil, but if that's what I got to do, I'll throw a nickel on that one.
All spirits are pure love. Everybody goes to heaven. The devil, all that kind of stuff has all been propagated throughout the ages to control the masses with fear.
I get that. And to some extent, I actually believe you on that.
Yeah.
But I just know through my personal experiences that I have had at our museum that there are a couple of bad ones. Like I've seen a possession there. I've seen a possession, and I've had to clear a possession.
How did you clear it?
We'll go over that next.
Okay.
In hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio, our guest, Julie Ryan, AskJulieRyan.com. You can find all of her books on her website. We'll see you in the next hour. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, Julie, we're going to play a quick video here. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, okay? All right.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit cariboucon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
With 5 explorable Gold Rush-era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten, the 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of Gold Rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
All right, second hour coming on up in 40 seconds. A big thank you all to our super chatters, Kitty Cattywhack, Necessary Dialogue, Divine Diamond, and T-Bone. And who else? Level-headed Wild Child. Thank you. Thank you for the love. T-Bone, you're awesome. You always wear a nice shirt, too. We're coming back in 10 seconds. Jules, you are awesome. We're going to unmute you. And here we go. All right, let's kick off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We are talking with Julie Ryan from AskJulieRyan.com, worldwide renowned psychic intuitive. But first, before we bring Julie back on, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Wistly. Wistly is your password, not whiskey. Wistly is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Author, intuitive, buffet of psychicness. Yes, Julie Ryan is here. Her website, AskJulieRyan.com. Julie, thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate you.
Oh, my honor. Anybody that wants a free copy of my Angelic Attendants book, What Happens as We're Transitioning, and it has diagrams in it of how the angels and the loved ones are positioned, just go to my website, AskJulieRyan.com. You'll see there's a button there. Send me a free copy and we'll send you a free digital and audio book download. And we have it in Spanish too, if you prefer that.
Beautiful. I love it. Say the website once again where they can find it.
AskJulieRyan.com. And on the homepage, as soon as you get on it, you'll see a button that says send me a free copy. And just click on that and we'll send you a free digital and audiobook download. The reason why I include the digital is because of the illustrations, because it helps. It helps us figure out how the angels are positioned and all of that. That's what the 12 phases of transition are.
You asked me a question before the break, and I'm such a bad host. I forgot what I was going to explain to you.
You were talking about that you had to do an exorcism on somebody.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a spirit in the upstairs of our barn that literally took over a person.
Uh-huh. What happened?
And we were in an area in the middle of the barn, and all of a sudden she ran out to go to the stairwell. And a couple minutes later, by the time I noticed and got to her, she was like crouched all over and her hands were all tight and she wouldn't look at me. Her voice had changed. Her face had changed. Like she was possessed. And I grabbed her hands and I was like, her name is Jamie. I said, Jamie, we need to talk. I want to drink. No, I need to speak with Jamie here for a minute, if you don't mind. I'm not interested in you. And all of a sudden, you'd see Jamie's face come back. And it was like, Jamie, I need you to kind of help me out here. And we went through this, took about half an hour, had a cross running on her back and literally was like, dude, you got to leave. And he's like, she was literally pulling me across the floor because I wouldn't let go of her hands. She tried to shake her hands from me. Right. And I wouldn't let it happen. And there was one point where I was like, I don't know what to do. I felt that fear build up in me. And I'm like, no, that's him. That's him trying to say, I can't do this. And I literally fought. And, you start bringing out the religious words, God, peace, love, and light. You got to let her go. And I've finally was able to get this guy out of her. And it's funny. She talks about it. She's a business owner in town. She talks about it all the time. And when I run into her, she's like, Dave, how you doing? I'm like, good. I said, when are you coming back on the tour? She's like, never. I'm like, why not? It was so much fun last time. She goes, maybe for you, but not for me. So yeah, I was able to get the spirit out of her. No, it was, I've only seen that once. I hope I never see it again.
Yeah.
But it was pretty surreal watching somebody get possessed and her voice change, her demeanor change. She kept griping about her leg, that her leg hurt. And when we did a little bit of research, and she found that 8 or 9 months previous to this, there was an accident about 10 miles from the museum where a young man was killed and his leg was severed.
Oh my.
Car accident.
Yeah.
And everything just added up to being this angry young man. I think he was only like 23 years old or something like that when he died.
Huh.
Yeah. It was pretty intense. But I got it out of her.
Well, but what did you do? You raised your vibrational level when you started praying.
I started taking command.
Yeah.
Right. Like, that was one thing. Like when she was trying to drag me across the floor, which she did successfully a couple of times, I just stood my ground and I'm like, no, we're not doing that. We're not playing this game. Right. I used a couple of profanity words to him. And I say him because I know it was a male spirit inside of her because of the voice change and everything. Wouldn't give me his name. And finally, just watching her, the spirit transition. I'll be blunt with you. And a lot of people will kick my butt for doing this, but I know what my spiritual path is. And so in order to get it out of her, I had to take him into me. And then I had to clear him. Better her getting clean than me. And then I was able to deal with him. So didn't feel good for a couple of days after, but it worked. I'm okay. I liked it. I'd do it again. It's a fun ride. You're like, oh my gosh, this guy's an idiot.
No, I'm not. But what I'm getting, and I get divine downloads. I call them all the time. I get spirit communicating with me. What I'm getting is that the thing that I want you to ponder, Dave, and everybody listening, is when people have, and I'm not saying this is the case with your friend, but when people have multiple personalities, and sometimes they only surface once, you can have somebody who's taken on a personality as a man and they've got like diabetes or some awful disease, even worse than diabetes, and their color of their eyes change, their heart rate changes, their insulin level changes, all of that. So I want you to put that into the equation, because what I'm hearing from spirit is all spirits are pure love. And I've heard that for 30 years. I've done this thousands of times. And so that's your perception that was an evil spirit. All spirits are pure love.
I don't think it was evil. Don't get me wrong. I don't think it was evil. I think it was a very, very angry young man.
It's been my experience, Dave, that everybody goes to heaven. Everybody goes through the 12 phases of transition. And then some spirits can materialize as what we would call ghosts. And those are spirits that make the decision to come back and have one foot in the spirit world and one foot in our human world for whatever reason they want to experience that. And some of them don't know they're dead. You alluded to that earlier, what happens with spirits that don't know they're dead. And then we can help them go ahead and cross over. I've done that several times over the years. And what I'll do is ask spirits of loved ones to come in, and then they convince them to go with them. And I see them walk into the light. That's been really interesting when I've watched that happen. And perhaps that's what was going on.
Well, I do have, and at our museum, I do have one area that has a spirit that isn't playing so nice right now. And it was actually kind of funny because before we did our previous tour, it was in that exact same area. Myself and two of my tour guides, we go into every building before we go on our tour. And what we go in there and we ask the spirits to please join us and hang out with us, help us out, because we're raising money for the museum and that keeps their home safe. We're going to bring people in and they just want to communicate with you. They want to say hello. So if you could help us out, that would be great. And we go through all of this, right? And the majority of the time we'll get something. But when we walked into that one room again, and the energies just felt off, and I just kind of said, are we really going to do this again today? I don't have the time or the energy for you. So if you're going to be a blank ending in hole, I really don't have time, and I'm going to tell you to get the hell out of here and go to the other end of the barn, because you're not going to wreck things for us here. And all of a sudden, the barn is an old, it's about 115 years old. It's an old Clydesdale barn that's about 70 yards long. My favorite building on the museum, my favorite historic building ever, this barn. And we have caught some amazing spirits there. Amazing spirits, including Clydesdale horses.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. It's beautiful when all of a sudden you see this giant horse head come out of one of the stalls. That's happened a couple of times. It's beautiful. But in this room, the day was very sunny. There was no wind. There was no rain, no nothing. And after I got mad at this guy, saying, look, we're not going to do this today. You got to go to the other end of the barn. It sounded all of a sudden for about 20 seconds that there was a hailstorm on the tin roof. And then you heard bang, 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 like somebody walking like angrily on wood, like stomping their feet. And you heard it going down the catwalk that separates, that goes on top of the barn. You hear it going all the way to the end of the catwalk. And I'm like, good, stay over there. We don't really need you here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it was all cool.
Spirits have the ability to make things materialize too. Have you ever heard of the Skull Project? SCOLE project?
Yeah, the skull.
Yeah, in
Yeah.
England.
Yes.
I had the
For our
documentary.
Do me a favor, for our audience, explain the skull experiment.
Yeah. I had the documentarian, Dan Drayson is his name, on my Ask Julie Ryan show. I have a podcast and YouTube channel too. We're on all the podcast networks. And the Skull Project was this group of mediums in the UK in this old farmhouse, and they would hold these seances and they would work with these spirits on the other side. And the spirits would materialize things like coins and keys and buttons and things like that. And so they brought in a team of researchers. And to your point earlier, Dave, this stuff's been around for a really long time. The London Psychic Society, I think, was started in the early 1800s. I mean, they've had this, and they were the captains of industry and the wealthy people, men primarily, who belonged to it and still do. Anyways, so one time there was a newspaper that materialized in the Skull Project. And on the front page was a story about a psychic during World War II who got in touch with the government because she was intercepting Nazi plans of what they were going to do. And they arrested her because they thought that she was a spy and a Nazi sympathizer. And this piece of this paper, they were working with this woman, and this paper materialized on the table in the Skull Project. And it was about this psychic. She was on the front page. And so they brought in experts to look at the paper, and the ink and the paper and everything was legit from the 1940s during World War II. And you think, how in the heck can that happen? Spirits have the ability to manipulate our reality and produce things. So it doesn't surprise me that you were hearing those footsteps. That spirit wanted you to know they were there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We kind of looked at each other. We're like, Angelina, one of my tour guides, she's like, damn, I guess he didn't really like what you had to say. You put him in his corner. I'm like, well, that's what you have to do sometimes.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's a really good point too, Dave, is that we're always way more powerful in our human form than any spirit ever could be. And if they're freaking you out, tell them to leave. Just say, hey, get out of here, like what you did. Do you want me to teach you how to communicate with spirits and teach your audience?
Yeah, let's do that before we get to some audience questions. We got about 7 minutes until the break.
Okay. Well, I'll go fast. Our heads are like big satellite dishes, and they receive and they transmit frequencies. Every spirit has a frequency they keep throughout all of their lifetimes. And it's irrelevant whether you knew a person or not. If you want to talk to them, who do you want to talk to? Moses, Elvis, Mother Teresa, whomever, it doesn't matter. You think of them, that tunes your satellite dish head to their frequency, and it opens up something similar to a two-way radio communication, Dave. And you just say something to them. Hey, Elvis, how about that green shag carpeting in your family room at Graceland? And you're going to hear a response from that spirit, and it's going to come instantly, fast as you can snap your fingers, or even a lot of times before. And that trips people up because they think, well, I didn't even finish my thought yet. Well, remember, time doesn't exist in the spirit world. Time's a human creation. So you just say something, whether it's a question or a statement. It is that first thought that comes into your head. If you think about it for more than a couple of seconds, that's going to be your brain talking to you. And this is how I communicate with people anywhere in the world telepathically. I'm like a human MRI, and I can see inside people's bodies with their permission. I can see broken bones, torn ligaments, viral infections, bacterial infections, cancer, whatever, and help facilitate healing energetically. I see healings happen, and I describe that. So whether you want to talk to a tree or a dog or a deceased loved one, or you want to talk to Einstein and have him help you on some algorithm you're trying to figure out, you just say, hey, Albert Einstein, boom. Your satellite dish head is connected to his frequency. And it doesn't matter whether they've reincarnated or not, because their frequency stays the same throughout all their lifetimes. It's really that simple.
I believe you.
Yeah.
How do we judge, though, the voices in our head compared to knowing it's actually spirit?
Well, it's that first thing that comes into your head, and spirit's never going to say anything derogatory, ever. They're never going to say, oh, you're just some dumb guy who drools. That's not going to happen. Spirits are all pure love. So when somebody's saying, oh, I've got this spirit saying terrible things to me, I said, that's your interpretation. You're coming from a place of fear. Let's raise your vibrational level. Let's re-ask the question, re-engage the conversation. And what I find and have found many times over the years is it kind of reminds me of one of those old-fashioned water wells that have the pump, and you got to pump the handle a few times to get the water to flow. Once we start communicating with the spirit, they're all chatty and they say the funniest things. Spirits are hilarious. And oftentimes it's not what we expect they're going to say. And, it can be anything, but we think they're going to have some life altering guidance for us. One of my favorite ones is a client and I were talking to her deceased mom's spirit in heaven. And first thing from the mom's spirit was, check your peanut butter. And my clients go, what? And the mom goes, check your peanut butter. You need to throw it out. And I said to my client, just go check your peanut butter. Well, it had expired a year previously, and she had made her kids lunch with that peanut butter that very day. So they're watching over us. They'll always let us know that it's them with whom we're communicating. They'll give us some kind of a, something that'll let us know it's really them.
3 minutes ago, I want to ask you this. You can tell when people's timelines are coming up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well, again, that chart that's at askjulieryan.com and the 12 phases of transition tab, you can download it. And it's the position of how the angels and our loved ones are around the person who's dying. And so we just look at that, or you can even ask, what phase is my whomever in? What phase is my grandmother in? What phase is my friend in?
It's not like you could look at me and say, okay, in 28 years, 4 months and 18 days, you're going to get hit by a truck.
No, all future events are fluid, Dave. So even if I did do that, it's that moment in time. It's this moment in time that I'm getting that information. And there are about a bazillion variables that can affect an outcome. So all future events, when you have a psychic say, oh, I have 100% rate, accuracy rate, that's nonsense, because there are too many variables, global pandemics, weather, whatever. And it affects the outcome. Things that have happened in the past are set. Things that are happening at this moment in time are set. All future events are fluid. And I always put that caveat in when somebody wants to know, what's going to happen in the future. I'll say, I'll give you what I'm getting at this moment in time, but don't go to the bank on it, because there are too many variables that can affect an outcome.
I'll tell you a quick story. I knew that from a long time that I was going to die before the age of 75. And when my son was still in the womb, I actually channeled him. And he knew that I was very upset because I was 40 years old when he was born.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be 13 this month in a couple of weeks. And I was really upset that I wasn't going to get enough time with him because 30 years just didn't seem like enough. And he's like, I remember him saying, Daddy, I got you 10 more years.
Hmm.
So now I know I'm going to be checking out probably around 85, which is a good run. I'm okay with that, but knowing like the confidence that I had in that channeling session with him while still in womb, that he was so cognizant of the fact that I was hurting on this side because I wanted more time with him. So I always wanted a son, but I never thought we would have a son. So that he was able to, lack of a better term, barter for me to get me another 10 plus years. That's kind of cool.
Well, remember though that our thoughts create our reality. So if you're
Absolutely.
focused on you're checking out at 85, that's most likely what will happen.
Well, it's
And
better than 75.
well, but we all decide when we die, where we die,
True.
who's with us, and all of that. So I would just perhaps ponder the opportunity to say, I'm going to die when the time is perfect, instead of being set on a certain number.
Julie, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to another break here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
You're like so much fun.
You are too. This is great.
Yeah. No,
I'm staying up late for you, sir. Yeah.
I'm fun.
Yeah, you are fun. Let's talk about this again, just to get everybody a free copy if they want it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go to askjulieryan.com, get your free copy. It's right on the front page.
Yep. That's it.
Right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And you can see another beautiful necklace that she has on in her picture on her website.
I'm known for my jewelry. It's the boobs up, so you got to jazz it up a little bit.
I know the feeling.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come up and visit you in your museum. Would that be fun if we went through that together and we could talk to all the spirits? I don't have to be there. I can
Oh, yeah.
talk to any spirit. I could find you if you were in a galaxy far, far away. Doesn't matter.
That's not even my fun area. My fun area is out in the forest.
Uh-huh.
I have a little mini skinwalker ranch type area out there where you never know what's going to happen.
Well, all those elementals are there, all those fairies and the wee people and all of that. First time I saw fairies was actually in Ireland.
My area, 108 Mile Ranch,
Yeah.
filled with fairies.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's my yard,
Yeah.
my garden. And there's this thing called the landscape diva. Are you familiar with those?
No.
They're like the lady in the lake in the Arthurian legends.
Right.
And mine looks like the lady in the lake. And you're going to love this, Dave. Her name's Esmeralda. And when she told me that, I laughed. And I thought, oh, God, Ryan, you're being rude. But I thought, of course it's Esmeralda. But yeah, I have 2 dragons that fly over my house all the time. It's wild.
On a spiritual side, I don't usually admit this. Maybe my long-time listeners will remember this, but I actually have 2 very large spiritual bodyguards.
Yeah.
That's why, like, people say, oh, you shouldn't take spirits into your body or anything like that. And my bodyguards take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've only seen them twice.
What do they look like?
They're giants.
Mm.
They're cloaked. They're probably around, I know it's an easy number. They're probably around 10 feet tall apiece. But their head, I've only seen their faces once, and their heads are like like a glass crystal ball with a lighter flame in it.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I was picturing was the movie Frozen. Have you seen Frozen 2? The
No.
Disney? Oh, you would love that. You got to watch that movie. There's so much spiritual stuff in there. And Walt Disney's the one who's really kept the elementals alive in the Disney company. Yeah.
Yeah, my big guys, I'm fortunate where I can send them to anybody.
Yeah.
So if somebody's having an issue, I could send them over there and say, "Hey, can you go take care of that for me? Because I care about this person."
I got my first book request from one of your audience just came in.
Nice.
Yeah. So let's
Nice.
mention it a couple more times. Says,
While you're there, Robert Sprite, welcome to SOR chat. J Rod, nice to see you again. Who else has jumped in here? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. She always likes her name said 3 times.
well, that's divine perfection.
Super Ron, how you doing? We're going to take audience questions here coming up in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
On to Aaron, how are you? Guided by my peeps, welcome to SOR chat. Thank you for joining us. Zachariah, how you doing? Thank you to our super chatters tonight. We have, oh my goodness, I can't read my writing. Level, how are you? Thank you. Kitty Cattywank, Necessary Dialogue, Divine, and T-Bone. Here we go. We are into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to get right to our guest. Julie Ryan is here communicating with the spirits. We are going to get to audience questions. But first, we want to remind you that her website is askjulieryan.com. You can go on her website, and if you scroll on down maybe an inch or two on the website, she has a free book for all of you, a free digital copy of her book about spiritual contact, how to deal with it. Yeah. Thank you, Julie, for doing that for our audience.
You bet. You bet. It's a gift from you and me.
Love it. I love it. You can come back anytime. You're fun.
Thanks. Right back at you, sir.
Love it. All right. Let's get to some audience questions because they have been brewing all night. So let's get right to it. We're going to start off with Jaquetta here, who is asking, what are your thoughts about someone who should have been unalive many times and yet somehow is still here?
Well, as I've mentioned several times, and as we've discussed, Dave and I, we all decide when we go, where we go, how we go, and what the circumstances are that surround our passing. And that's all predicated on what a person's spirit wants to explore and experience in this lifetime. So somebody who's so-called cheated death multiple times, they wanted to explore and experience what it was like to be on the brink of death and then to come back and heal and spend more time here.
Do you think that maybe some people are just like Teflon, that nothing just sticks to them?
Well, yeah, I think that's true, but I think that we all decide. I mean, ask any practitioner, any medical practitioner who's a critical care, like in CCU, ICU, the emergency room, whatever. Ask any funeral director, and they all have many, many, many stories of people who waited till somebody was out of the room before they passed, or they waited until somebody arrived so they could say goodbye. And it's just so much proof that we all decide when we go.
Our next question comes from Carrie. What about people who are suffering poverty and hunger? I'm sure they didn't choose to play that role.
Well, that's our perspective because that's not something we would want to do necessarily. But you think about somebody who's homeless And perhaps they wanted to explore what freedom felt like. They don't have to pay the electric bill. They don't have a mortgage payment. They can come and go as they please. What I have found over the years is that when we judge something as bad, we don't know what that spirit came in to explore and experience. Maybe they were at the opposite end of the spectrum through several lifetimes, and this time they wanted to explore what it was like to be homeless and poverty stricken. Doesn't make sense to us because it's not something we would choose, but we never know what somebody else's spirit wants to explore and experience this round.
Well, let me ask you this then, because, you know, all of a sudden, for some stupid reason, I got in my head, you know, the Christmas Carol,
Yeah,
with Ebenezer Scrooge, where,
sure.
he was a miser, he was cheap, he was villainous. Is there some sort of maybe punishment that maybe if you were given a blessing of, say, being very wealthy in your previous life, but you turned out to be just a crooked, mean jerk to people because of it, that you would come back in the next life kind of as a punishment where you don't have anything and have to relearn that lesson spiritually?
I I I have a twist on that, Dave, and I've heard this a bazillion times from spirit. In the spirit world, and this is a stretch for those of us raised in the Judeo-Christian Western world, but what I've heard a bazillion times from spirit is there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad in the spirit world. They just look at it as an experience. And you think about every experience that we have expands our spirit, expands our frame of reference. And so what I have seen is you got to have the good and bad, right or wrong in the human existence, because that's how we create. If everything was just hunky and fabulous all the time, we wouldn't have any incentive to create something new. So that gives us the incentive to create new, better things. Karma is something that I believe has been bastardized in recent history, where, oh, if you do that in this life, you're going to get screwed in the next life and your life's going to be terrible. Again, it's just an experience. We're looking at things from a different perspective. And that's where past lives come in. And past lives are so much fun because we can oftentimes corroborate the information we get with historical documentation online. But my analogy for past lives, and for this as well, Dave, is think of Hamlet. How many times has Hamlet been performed since Shakespeare wrote it in 1602? Who knows? But you think about all those variables. Where was it performed? In what year? By whom? What language? Was it inside? Was it outside? Who were the actors? Who was the director? Who was the producer? Who was the costumer? Same script, different perspective each time. I'll see a semblance of a script that will repeat throughout multiple lifetimes. And maybe you're a wealthy person in one lifetime, and then you choose to be the opposite end of the spectrum in this lifetime. Gives us a different perspective so that our spirit can expand. Does that make sense?
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah.
We're going to go to a different question. Let's go to Marv here. What do you believe the ghosts are, and why are they here? Are they just extending their 12 stages of transition for some reason?
Marv, we touched on this a little bit earlier, and that is, it's been my experience many times where when we go back to heaven, which is where we all go when we die, we've talked about that. We choose what's our next adventure going to be. And there are spirits, it's a very small percentage, that say, I kind of want to experience what it's like to have one foot in the spirit world and one foot in the human world. And when we're all born, we forget that we're spirits. We relearn that as we're living our human existence. And similarly, when a spirit chooses to be a ghost, is what I call it, they're choosing to forget that they're really dead. They're only in non-physical form. Their body is no longer with them. And so they're exploring things from that perspective. Everybody goes through the 12 phases of transition. As I mentioned, whether they die instantly, like in the case of a homicide or suicide, or whether they die over a prolonged period of time, days, weeks, months, even years.
All right, let's move on to another one here.
These are great questions, Dave.
We're very lucky with our audience.
I guess.
You're very lucky. All right, let's go over to Cosmic here. Have you studied or heard of Rudolf Steiner and his lectures over 100 years ago about the eighth sphere?
I've heard the name, but I'm not familiar with his work or him at all.
Well, I'm going to look it up because now I'm curious.
Okay.
All right. The eighth sphere is an esoteric concept originating from occult and theosophical traditions, representing a dark deviation from regular spiritual evolution. So that's pretty much it.
I've heard his name, but I don't know anything about him.
Let's go to Jaquetta. Being a former Catholic, I'm going to assume that's Friar Halloran.
Father, probably.
Or Father Halloran was my dad's teacher in St. Louis. Exorcism, I was told it was very real. What's your thoughts?
Well, we covered that earlier. I think it's the frequency of the energy, and it's that person's perspective of how they're approaching it. And when somebody's afraid, they're in fight or flight and the brain loses clarity. But what do priests do? And again, this has been used to control the masses with fear. But what does an exorcist do? They pray. They're raising the vibrational level of the room, of the energy in the person. You know, the energy when people are in the room, the energy is going to raise to the highest level in the room of the person. And so that's what I believe is happening. We talked earlier about how spirits they can mess with electronics. They can make things materialize. They can make sounds, all of that. It doesn't mean that it's scary. It's our perspective that it's scary because we're like, what the heck is that? And so it's all based on the person's perspective. And the perspective comes from what are they taught? You know, we were taught that ulcers are caused by all these problems in food. And there have been so many people throughout the years that had parts of their stomach removed because there wasn't anything you could do about it. Well, then a few years ago, a Nobel Prize was released and awarded because one of the doctors who won it figured out that you could treat ulcers with antibiotics and it cleared up in a week. So just because we are taught something doesn't mean that it's true. One of my favorite philosophers is a guy who lived in the 19th century. His name's Soren Kierkegaard. And he said there are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe something that isn't true. The other is to not believe something that is true. And I think that pertains here.
All right. Our guest tonight, Julie Ryan, askjulieryan.com is her website. Let's go to Levelhead. Julie, can you tell the story about the night you and a friend were in an empty office building and you helped spirits cross over?
Yeah, she's obviously read my book. Thank you. Thank you. Again, if you want a free copy, just go to askjulieryan.com homepage, click send me a free copy and we'll send it to you. Share it with your family and friends too. It provides so much information and so much comfort. Thanks for that question. The story was I met a friend at his office building that was haunted. He kept telling me it was haunted. And so we were down in the lower level of this office building and he said, "Are you getting anything?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I don't have my radar turned on." I turned my radar on and off at will. And so I saw this scene, Dave, of this makeshift morgue. And I thought, what the heck? There were these bodies laying along the wall and their heads were against the wall and they all had white sheets over them. And there were all these people milling about. So I talked to the spirits and what I found out was there had been a train accident and there were several missing people and several people had died. And at one point, I talk about in my book, at one point a door opened, which kind of freaked me out. That's the first time I'd witnessed that. I'm sure you have on your ghost tours before. But there was this woman in turn of the 20th century attire. She had on a a high collar blouse and a long skirt and a jacket, and her hair was in a Gibson bun, if you look that up. And so I was talking with her and she was looking for her child. Well, fast forward, there were some spirits that were there that were on the train that were stowaways. They were slaves and they were trying to escape the South and get to the North. And so they were hiding up like the office building on that floor had a drop ceiling and they were hiding in there. And so my friend and I were talking with these former slaves and I was trying to get them to come down so I could help them get into the light. And they were giving him all this intel about, you got to watch out for Susie May because she'll talk bad about you behind your back. They were giving him all this information about people in the building. So we looked it up and there had in fact been a train wreck at that time, but it said only 12 people had died. And I saw more bodies than that on the floor in this makeshift morgue. Well, with further research, what we found was that there had been a TB outbreak, tuberculosis outbreak, and people would go off to work and they'd come home and there'd be a family member dead when they came home. And so that's what the morgue was about. And they had just brought these people who had died in the train wreck to this morgue. Again, all this stuff we can just validate with historic documentation with a little digging, which makes it really fun when we get that information available. Thanks for the question.
Does Spirit want to connect with us from the other side? Do they want to have those chats?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what they tell us all the time is they're available to us for anything that we need. All we have to do is ask. They're going to send us ideas, but they'll never interfere with our lives without being asked, because that's where our free will comes in and they don't want to mess with that. I have a dear friend, Dave, who every morning before she gets out of bed, she makes a list. Okay, to all her loved ones in spirit. Mom, I need you to do this. Mr. Jones, I need you to do that. Grandma, I need you to do this. And I asked her, I said, well, does it work? And she said, every time. You just got to ask.
All right, rock and roll. Let's go to the next one here. Great questions from our audience in our YouTube channel. Vincent in Manitoba is asking, Julie, what's your thoughts on angel numbers as forms of communication? 1111, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I had one when we started the show. So yes, they are our loved ones and angels letting us know that they're around us, supporting us, here to help us. All we have to do is ask. And you can ask them anything. A lot of people will say, okay, angels, I need a parking space in the front of this, wherever I'm going, because I'm running late for my appointment. And there will be a parking space appear. Or it can be, I need you to watch over a loved one for this, or I need your help bringing in extra money. I've got some extra bills this month, and just trust that it's going to happen. And it does. Most of the time. Yeah, they're a real thing. And numbers in the Bible are really interesting too. 3 stands for divine perfection. 7 stands for spiritual perfection. Other numbers from 1 to 12 mean other things. The 12 tribes of Israel, the 1 + 2 = 3. So you got divine perfection there. And back when the Bible was written, people were illiterate. So they used the numbers to keep a semblance of the same story. And the people who were reading the Bible knew what those numbers meant. I find that really fascinating.
All right, let's go to Andromeda. And have you ever channeled ET souls?
Yes.
How does that differ?
It doesn't really. I'm going to have Bashar on my show here soon, and he's an ET channel. He's probably one of the best known ones right now that are out there. And they're just guidance. They're all benevolent. They're all, all spirits are pure love, whether they're an ET or whether they're a human or whether they're a tree or a dog. All spirits are pure love.
You know what gets me about Daryl Anka?
Yeah.
Is that he reminds me, I can't even look at him because he's like a twin to the singer of the band Disturbed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
I mean,
like, you can
I'll
put
look
them
them
side
up.
by side and they in the same clothing. You wouldn't tell them apart.
I thought you were going to say because he looks like an alien.
No, no. He looks like the singer of Disturbed. Every time I look at him, I keep waiting for him to sing The Sound of Silence.
Oh, how funny.
Necessary is asking, what is the white light when we see when we pass? Is it good or bad?
It's good. It's good. We when we pass, what happens is the spirit exits the body through the top of the head and we go through a vortex. And so as we go through the vortex, our spirit, that's what we're seeing is the white light of that. And then heaven looks to me, the pearly gates, Dave, looked to me like this big yellowish, whitish plasma wall. And we go through it and there's no trace. And then we can come back out. I do this exercise and I teach this. It's called the walk to heaven. And it's for people that are very afraid to die because they're afraid they're going to go to hell. You know, they've been very inundated with that religious concept. And so we'll do a dress rehearsal. And I talk about it in the book. It's the walk to heaven. And it's so much fun because all their loved ones are there waiting for them. And when they cross over, there's this cheer that goes up like you're in a 100,000 person stadium and there's been a goal scored or a touchdown scored, and you can hear the crowd just roar. And that's what we hear on the other side. By the way, I've never seen St. Peter outside the pearly gates with a clipboard going, okay, yeah, you're allowed in. No, you got to go burn for eternity. It doesn't happen. Everybody goes to heaven.
That's awesome. We have 4 minutes to go with our guest tonight, Julie Ryan. AskJulieRyan.com is her website. We're going to try and
go get your free book.
Yeah, go there to get your free book. Let's go to Divine here. Have you ever had an experience of dying? I died 3 times, and in no way I asked to die.
No, I haven't. But when you've died 3 times, your spirit wanted to explore and experience that, what we talked about earlier, and wanted to explore coming back and spending more time here. When people talk about near-death experiences and they died, let's say they weren't breathing for a period of time, again, that's something that the spirit wanted to explore and experience. Oftentimes there's a spiritual awakening when that happens. And they're very interesting, the near-death experiences, because there are so many commonalities of people from all over the world who are different education levels, different socioeconomic status, totally different cultures. And they report a lot of similar experiences.
Let's move on. Hillbilly Herb is asking, Julie, do you have any thoughts on folks with severe dementia? It seems to me their spirit has already moved on.
Their spirit has not. They, in most instances, are not dying. Again, most of the work that I do is healing, and I can see inside people's bodies with their permission, of course. When I'm scanning somebody with severe dementia, I see lots of scar tissue in the brain. The brain matter looks to me like really thick cooked oatmeal, and it has the consistency of soft butter. Scar tissue reminds me, Herb, of chicken cartilage in a chicken breast with the bone in. And so oftentimes they've been on statins for decades, and statins cause Alzheimer's. That's showing up in a lot of the research. So I'll ask the person with whom I'm working, I'll say, was your mom on statins by any chance? And inevitably they have been in many instances for decades. So no, their spirit is very much in their body. If the spirit is starting to leave the body, it hangs on in phase 1 of the 12 phases of transition. It hangs on, it looks like a speech bubble that you'd see in a cartoon where the character's thoughts or words are. And when the spirit is out of the body and hanging on to the top of the head, it's like I'm trying to look at an x-ray in a pitch black room with no electricity, because the spirit is the power source for the body. So people with severe dementia in most instances are not transitioning.
That'll be it for questions for tonight. I wish we had time to take more because I know there is a lineup of questions for you. But do me a favor, tell everybody where they can find your podcast, your website, your books.
Yeah, AskJulieRyan.com that's kind of home base. And then the Ask Julie Ryan show, we're on all the podcast networks. We release 2 interviews a week, and we do a live call-in show every Thursday night at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and 5 Pacific. And people call in from all over the world and partake in the buffet of psychicness. We can talk to your dad, grandma. I can scan your cat. We can do a past life thing. We can get guidance, whatever. It's a blast because I never know who's calling. I never know what their questions are going to be.
I love it. You have been an absolute pleasure to have on Spaced Out Radio. We do have to do this again.
I would love that. Thank you for having me.
It's been absolutely great. Julie Ryan, everybody. Once again, her website where you can get your free book, courtesy of Julie. Go to askjulieryan.com. It's right there. Go get a free book. Why not? Coming up next in hour 3, Swamp Dweller and Grant Baker will be here for the UFO report.
Mwah.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Julie, you were wonderful.
Oh, what a delight to get to meet you and chat with you and all your peeps. Thank you so much for having me. I had a ball. You were worth staying up late. So what do you do during the day if you're doing this all night to the wee hours?
I work in financing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I do. I work in finance.
So you don't have to be in there early, hopefully.
Oh yeah, I'll be at my office for 8:15.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Do you want to be on my show?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll send you a link. I think we're booking in the fall right now, but yeah, I think it would be really fun. We'll have lots to talk about.
We'll do it.
Okay. Thanks, Dave. Mwah.
Take care. Much love.
Bye-bye.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your Spaced Out Radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou
CaribouCon, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity. If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
All right, let's bring in the Grantavious one. Grant Baker, how you doing, buddy?
Good, my man. How you doing?
Good. Well, big thank you tonight to Level, to T-Bone, to Divine, Necessary, and Kitty Cattywack for the great super chats we got tonight. We really do appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Swamp Dweller will be 3 minutes, 22 seconds, and here we go in 3 seconds. Here comes the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you coming on in and hanging out with us, because this is where the weird and strange happen each and every night. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Whistly. Whistly is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
This is my first encounter with what I believe to be a murderer. I was 15 years old at the time, cutting home through the woods next to my high school after lacrosse practice. It was early April, so at 7, it was still somewhat light outside, but a lot darker in the woods. I did this almost every day and had no worry of getting lost or attacked because I knew the woods very well. I started my 15-minute journey entering through the hole in the fence onto a trail and began walking as always. Only maybe a minute into my walk, I got an odd feeling that I still can't explain. The most I can say is that it almost felt like when you are watching a scary movie and there is a suspenseful part where you know something is going to happen, but you don't know exactly what. I just kind of brushed it off, but I know that was a big mistake. Maybe 5 minutes later, I noticed a large white arrow spray painted on a tree at the fork in a trail. It was pointed the way I was going, which was odd, as I've never seen it before, and I probably walked this way 100 times or more. I figured it was just a directional sign for the trail crews or something, and continued on my walk. I stupidly didn't put two and two together, and walked just as slow and tired as I always did, instead of picking up some speed for the last 10 minutes or so. Maybe another minute in, I heard branches snap behind me. I looked and saw nothing. I assumed it was a squirrel or something, but now started to walk a little bit faster. When I heard another branch snap, I looked back and saw a man. He was oddly built, with a thin upper body, but a wider leg structure. I could sort of make out his face, and it looked deformed, like half of it had melted and started sliding down. He was not tall, maybe 5'6", and didn't look intimidating. That is, only if he didn't have the knife in his hand. It looked like a bread knife, or maybe a butcher's knife. I can't be sure. It was hard to make out in the split second I saw it, because when I did, I was already going full speed down the trail. I didn't hear him pursue, but nonetheless continued sprinting as fast as I could. I was running like my life depended on it, and it very well could have. Luckily, my legs were already worn from practice, so I was going pretty fast. I reached the fence in about 3 minutes of non-stop sprinting and started climbing. While climbing, I'm not even kidding, I heard footsteps behind me, and when I turned, I saw the man. He wound up and threw the knife, which ended up being one of those long bread knives with a huge blade. Luckily for me, the knife hit the fence, and I ran back to my house, unlocking the door and going inside. I haven't told my parents, only friends and select members of my family. I still don't know what really happened, and I don't know why he was there. Who is this guy? I have no clue. I don't know what his motives were. I don't know anything. The only thing I do know is now I only walk the streets, which although take about a half an hour, have much less of a risk of meeting these wackos.
Thank you, Swampy, for another weird, strange story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to listen to each and every day and night. Now, from the swamp to the stars, it's the UFO report. We bring in Grant Baker.
Tonight, signals shining in the sky. Grant's got the stories breaking through. What's hidden now comes into view. From distant lights to secret files, history tracks. Every signal slowly peeled. So tune in close, don't miss the facts. UFO facts, we've got your backs. Space Out Radio becomes a song.
Grant Baker, busy week in the UFO world. We start off with a little bit of a sad note. George Knapp broke the story yesterday on X. And shortly after he did that, I received a phone call from a member of the MUFON board of directors, Bob Spearing, who gave me a call yesterday just to say, hey, man, have you heard the news? The head of MUFON, Dave McDonald, passed away.
Yeah, and I just found that out today, unfortunately. And, you know, he was a long-time leader within the MUFON, and it's sad news. It really is. In the report, it was in Cincinnati, Ohio, and for anybody that doesn't know what MUFON means, it means the Mutual UFO Network, and they're deeply saddened as well. And being a longtime leader within the MUFON, and he was a respected voice in the global UFO community. And it is definitely a sad day for everything that has come to pass. I mean, if anybody doesn't know who Dave McDonald was, he first assumed leadership of the MUFON in 2012, and he helped guide the organization's operation and public mission. He also later came back in to lead MUFON, continuing his work during a really transformative era for the organization and all of us, the whole field at large. There's a quote there that was written by or said by Ziegelmeyer, and it says, Dave McDonald devoted a significant part of his life to MUFON and to the serious study of UFOs and UAP. And that was Debbie Ziegelmeyer that said that. She's a longtime MUFON board member and executive vice president. She also went on to say that he believed in field investigations, witness testimony, data collection, and public education. Most of all, he believed in the people of MUFON. And she also said that his loss will be deeply felt throughout the organization and the broader UAP UFO community. And it is definitely a sad day for us all. We keep losing all these prominent figureheads within our community. But then again, we've been doing this for many years. So, I mean, none of us are getting younger. It says here that MUFON extends its deepest condolences to Dave's wife, Sharon, his family, friends, and colleagues, and all who knew and worked with him. The organization also recognizes the many state directors, field investigators, board members, volunteers, researchers, and members who shared in Dave's mission and friendship. And there's further details regarding the memorial arrangements and stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely another loss.
I got to meet Dave a couple of years ago when I had the pleasure of being asked to speak at the MUFON Symposium in Denver, Colorado. And, you know, I remember him sitting with his wife and a few other people from MUFON, and he's like, "Hey, Dave, would you like to sit down with us and have a glass of wine?" And I was like, "You know what? I'm good," because I was trying to find something to eat. But I sat down for a few minutes, and he asked, well, how long have you been doing Spaced Out Radio? Why did you get into this? Like, he was very curious and very genuine when I spoke with him, and I just really appreciated that opportunity to not only meet him. It's sad we could never line up a date to get him on this show. You know, he was a very, very busy man. But one of the big things that he had accomplished over the last couple of years was really working behind the scenes, with trying to get MUFON more established with the tie to what was happening with the U.S. government and their disclosure movement. And he worked diligently with that. A lot of people, like myself, questioned it. Why was he doing that? Why not be public about it? You're the face of the public when it comes to this. Why are we trying to work with the government? But one thing I learned about that was that he was trying to bring that public atmosphere and say to people in the government, look, there are real people seeing real things and having real experiences. When are we going to get to this? He was very much lobbying to try and get the UFO experience to the public. And God bless him. Hopefully his journey throughout the stars now allows him to find what aliens and extraterrestrial life is all about.
I agree with that. I mean, he was a professional commercial pilot, former law enforcement. And I mean, he approached the UAP UFO subject. He wasn't a casual hobbyist. I mean, he viewed it through a strictly operational investigative lens. And I just, you know what? Godspeed, Dave. Godspeed. And I hope his new adventure is something to behold. And someday maybe we all get blessed enough to experience it with him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's move on to the next topic, Grant.
Okay. So this one's kind of a fun one. This is a big one. So imagine tomorrow morning, right? Scientists pick up a definitive, undeniable radio signal from an alien civilization. So what happens next? Do we text back, or does the government hide it? Will the International Academy of Aeronautics just dropped the official rule book for exactly how humanity will handle the first contact. So it's called the 2026 SETI, for anybody that doesn't know what that means. It's Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And it's a declaration. And the protocols are wilder than what you would think. And it's literally, anybody can look this up. And when you look at the actual, it's only 4 pages. And it's a position on paper. It's called the Declaration of Principles Concerning the Conduct of Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. And there's a preamble that everybody can read, but then it breaks it down in kind of a novel way. But the core argument is the deep time perspective. And there's a quote in there that I'd like to read. It says, "The universe is 14 billion years old. By 2 billion years after the universe started, all of the elements of life were available. We've had 12 billion years for somebody to evolve and produce technologies." So this is a massive perspective shift. And hold on a second. Let me get back in there. Declaration principles. Okay. So handling any kind of candidate evidence, like the authentication is first. In the event of a potential detection, like if we get the wow signal again, they're saying it must be they're going to take every effort to authenticate the signal, and they're going to use every available resource and collaboration to do so. And that includes, independent observations from multiple facilities using different instruments. But they're basically trying to say the information regarding all this stuff, or all the signals, must be handled with immense caution. And it's kind of like a rule book. And they want what they call scientific integrity, where people must uphold the highest standards of scientific responsibility while using the best communication practices to convey the significance of candidate signals to the public. I had to read all that because I couldn't memorize exactly how they put it. And they have different definitive ways to do this. So there's a freedom of report, and then there's research, safety, and rights, and then there's the obligations that they have, and then there's called speculation. And basically what they're doing is, it was adopted in June 2026, June 1st, and it serves as an updated framework or a guideline, so to speak, for individual scientists and institutions and organizations that involve peer-reviewed research or scientific search for technosignatures, past, present evidence of intelligent life beyond Earth. And it's really neat to read through this. It's not to extraterrestrial life in general, I would say. It's not UAP. We'll just get that out of the framework. It's more about what's out there, and if we get another wow signal, how do we handle this? How do they share these communications? How do they verify these communications? And the verifications are actually really neat because there's a hierarchy about it. And if they actually discover a credible signal or something to a degree of certainty, I guess, not just a wow signal, but more or less we're actually getting contact, whether it be by Morse code, or we've had AI look at this and say, hey, this is what they're saying, and there's a whole bunch of institutions that this is going to be made public to immediately. They also have a global notification program. If they do have a confirmed discovery, it must be told to the public promptly, or not the public, but scientists promptly, completely, and openly. And then it goes to the public globally, which is what's interesting about this one. Not only the scientific community, but also like the Secretary General of the United Nations. There's going to be a formal reporting, which is peer-reviewed verifications. And there's going to be reports including raw data analysis methods, interpretations, and any detected information content. It must be supplied to all of us, including and I have these written down, the International Academy of Astronautics, IAA, International Astronautics Union, the Committee of Space Research, the International Institute of Space Law, and the International Telecommunications Union. The Union Committee of the Peaceful Users of Outer Space, did not know that one, and the Office for Outer Space Affairs, also called UNUSU or UNUSA. That's a long one. But they're going to have archives, and there's going to be data accessibility for everybody. There will be analysis methods that we can do as well. In fact, they're going to give us the underlying code. That must also be preserved. There's going to be redundant storages for it to ensure that replication and secure data handling, all relevant data products must be recorded and securely archived in at least 2 separate geographic locations across the globe using international repositories and open standard formats. There's also going to be data and frequency protections, which were, tamper-proof records and kind of like your dollar bills. And then there's going to be a spectrum protection, which I didn't understand what that meant. But according to them, if the discovery involves electromagnetic signals, international agreements must be immediately be sought through the ITU to protect the specific transmission frequencies. So whatever frequency they find this on, they're going to lock that one down. And then there's also post-detection protocols. There's a lot in this.
One of the big things, Grant, that I noticed in that was that there was a segment in that piece of work, which was, we have to play it quiet to the public. This is about us establishing. This isn't about, trying to bring transparency that we've made contact with another ET species. This is about, if we make contact, how do we keep this out of the public eye? Because we do not want the public to know about this. I found that very interesting.
It is. And there's one of the biggest talking points that I saw in there was it's like an ultimate group chat. And there's a declaration in there that strictly forbids any like single scientist or university or even country from replying unilaterally. And then it goes on to say that if humanity wants to reply, it has to go through like an international, I guess, consultation or, via the United Nations. So the whole planet has to agree on it, but in order to text back, so to speak. But I mean, are they going to tell us about it? Like, if the whole planet is supposed to know about this, but I don't know if they're going to tell us about it. I mean, honestly, I think the systems that we have that look at all the information that's coming in, especially when it happens to do with UFOs, UAPs, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call it, there's a system, an actual, almost like an AI that reads over everything, redacts the things it needs, and gives us the low-hanging fruit that we've talked about. And I mean, it's going to be radio silence, I think, to the public.
100% it's going to be 100%. But I mean, let's look at the examples of that as we get about 2 minutes to go here.
Yeah.
I think the reason why they say, look, we got to keep it under the public eyes. If I'm going to play, both sides here, even though I don't agree with that, I think they're looking at it is, look, we don't want to spread mass panic amongst people. If say we develop it or pick up a signal like the WOW signal, and we can confirm it's extraterrestrial. Okay. Yeah. And that thing is 4.5 million light years away. We don't want to be bugging the public, saying aliens are here.
Well, realistically, the rules that are given in here to the scientists actually are very explicit, and it's a right to decline media interviews or even social media engagement. And that's so-called to protect their mental health, but realistically, it's just to keep the lid on it.
Yeah. Once again, they want all the toys for themselves, and they don't want Grant Baker, Dave Scott, or any of the public in the world, the 8 billion plus people, to know what they're sitting on. And I think that's a load of malarkey.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, it's out there. I mean,
it also shows, Grant, how they're trying to cover up this subject.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Yep.
I think that should be the cause of concern.
Yeah, they've been covering everything up for almost 80 years. What's stopping them from doing it now?
Well, apparently waiting for a signal.
We already got the wow signal, and now we just have a protocol on verifications and scope and protocols in order to, and there's a do not reply rule. So like we get it, we're probably not going to, as the public, aren't ever going to hear about it. And are they really not going to reply? Come on. If I was the kid at the helm and I heard that wow signal come in and I had the ability to transmit back to him, I'd be like, hey guys, what's up from Morgan?
Right. Grant, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because when we return on Spaced Out Radio's UFO Report with Grant Baker, we are going to get into some interesting words about the moon from Lou Elizondo.
Is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
See what happens when you shave off your mustache?
I know.
Your energy level just drops. You okay? You're looking a little pale today.
I'm
feeling okay?
Yeah, I'm a little tired. I was up all night with a puppy dog.
Yeah, you're looking a little pale today.
Yeah, it's just the lighting. I'm just your pasty white guy, average white guy.
Disappointed you shaved the mustache.
I had to.
You did not.
I did too. My wife doesn't want a calendar with a mustache in it. And trust me, I've had that conversation about 4 times in the last 48 hours. Ugh. So off it went.
You can't win with the lip blade, man.
Was that?
You just can't win with the lip blade.
No, I'm getting pulled from both directions. But it's all right.
Well, then she has to learn how much we pay homage to your mustache.
I had to take a picture of hers and just I'm teasing. Be like, well, if I can't have one, you can't have one either. Ooh, boy, I'd be in the doghouse with that.
And that's when Grant went to the hospital.
I don't want to go back. They almost killed me the last time. Oh, my goodness. The moon, huh? Are we going to talk about the moon?
Yeah, why not?
I love the moon. I love it. And all its weirdness. No scientist knows how it got there. Don't get me started. Oh my goodness. Well, you got enough for both of us, man. Look at you. I shaved yesterday and it's already coming back. That's kind of nice.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's in your contract.
Yeah. I need to figure out a different way to do it because it's like thick on the ends and like not very thick in the middle.
That's what she said.
Thanks.
Divine Diamond, I noticed that you are Canadian. Where are you? I'm curious. Where are you?
North of me, I'll tell you that.
Oh, she's in Ontario.
Much more north of me.
That's east. She might be equivalent with you on the east. Depending where she is in Ontario.
Yeah, I'm at Southern Oregon. I'm 20 miles north of the California border.
I know. You know, I wasn't even a teenager when I first learned about Klamath Falls.
Really? Did you?
The Air Force Base there used to send up F4 Phantoms to our air show in Abbotsford.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, she's in Cornwall, home of the Aces of the Ontario Hockey League. I think. I gotta check. Sorry, former American Hockey League team. The Aces.
The Aces.
Yeah, I just pulled that right out of my ass there.
You're pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about hockey. I went to one game and it was the Sharks. The Sharks? Is that a hockey team? Ta-da. Dude, this dog is snoring. Oh my God, she's so cute. I could have bought a car, but I didn't. I bought a dog. Gosh.
We're coming back in 45 seconds.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 4 to 5 seconds. So it's like,
Thank you to T-Bone ×2, Divine Diamond, Necessary Dialogue, Kitty Cattywhack, and Level. Did Levelhead leave already? Thank you anyways. If you haven't already, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. Helps with the algorithms. If you miss Grant's mustache, give us a thumbs up. If you're pissed off that he shaved it off, give us a thumbs down. 10 seconds.
No.
We are into the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Grant Baker standing on by with the UFO report. We're going to get to Grant right now because Lou Elizondo, the former head of the ATIP program at the Pentagon, made a statement about the moon, Grant.
Oh, this is a good one because it's one of the most interesting objects in space that I absolutely adore because of all its anomalies and intricacies and just pure weirdness. The moon is an enigma. And so here we got Lou Elizondo, and he says the moon is of interest to non-human intelligence as well. These are quotes of his. He says that when conversations move to another startling topic, the moon, asks whether he has any knowledge, directly or indirectly, of non-human intelligence being on the moon, Elizondo simply said, yes. He was also asked whether he can elaborate, and this is what he commented. There are classified sources of information that I am unable to elaborate, he said. They indicate that the moon is or was perhaps of particular interest by something or someone else other than us. And Lou Elizondo also adds that as humanity returns to the moon and establishes a more permanent residence there, he suspects discoveries may follow. Quote, let's face it, after years of denial, NASA has finally released photos from the surface of the moon that depict anomalies, which is in the second tranche of files that we got from the government, the United States government. Elizondo is referring to the latest of those files released by the Trump administration, where recordings of NASA astronauts and photos reveal mysterious encounters during the Apollo 12 and 17 missions. He says, I highly suspect we're going to begin to discover hints of habitation or artifacts. He also states, very similar to what we may be seeing already on Mars. So now get this. They've been scrubbing stuff about Mars as well. And that life may be, in fact, much more pervasive than we thought. So we almost have, from Lou's perspective, a hint that there's artifacts on the moon, and I can come up with 100 different anomalies about the moon that would bore your listeners. And then he also put in Mars. So the face of Mars, there's also pyramids on Mars. Well, we're finding those kind of architectures on the moon as well. So it's very interesting that he's bringing this up now. I think he's a little late to the party. I've been talking about the moon for many years, and I know that you've had many guests on your show as well that have talked about the moons. It's just it's finally out there. I mean, we've had German scientists say it rang like a bell, that it's hollow. I mean, there's so many different things that we can talk about when it comes to that. It's good to see, though, that he's on that track. I mean, if you break it down, like we've been talking about this for decades, and notice how he doesn't hide behind the "I don't know" or "it's possible" here. I mean, he states it is a classified source, um, but it is or was a particular interest to aliens, so to speak. I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there.
Is it
And
aliens or a secret space program?
it could be
that-
both. I mean, you look at it like this way: when those German scientists, say the moon's hollow, or when we crashed the modules into the moon, it rang like a bell for hours. We have the seismic data on it. We've been there. We have ham radio operators that have talked about the actual verbiage that they were using. Hey, they're watching us. There's someone here. They're on the rim of the crater. Their ships are huge. I mean, I could go on for hours about this. And I think that it's more or less, and I used to have this idea. We went to the moon. Why didn't we go back until just recently? Well, we didn't actually go back. We just kind of flew around it and said hi. And we've never actually landed on it since the Apollo missions. And I used to tantalize, like, hey, look, guys, check it out. We were told not to come back. I mean, we even have the Santa Claus is real. We have, it looks like a parking lot down there on the dark side of the moon, or just the side of the moon that we can't see. Yeah, I think that there's something going on up there. I think there's been something going on up there for a very long time. In fact, if you look at the Hopi Native Americans talked about a time before the moon was there, and that it was brought here by an alien race. I mean, these things go way back in ancient history. I think that the moon is one of those things that we should be looking at, not only the moon, but our oceans. But when it comes to the moon, think of it like a hub. I mean, it's the perfect spot. It takes us multi-billion-dollar agencies many, many years to prepare a launch, to even get there, let alone set up some type of base there. So it's kind of like just out of our reach, but close enough to where they could do whatever they want to do and check us out and watch the whole world, especially in the way it's locked, tidally locked to and its orbit around our Earth. They can see everything that we do at any given time. I mean, they're going around us about once a day, and they probably got better cameras than we do.
Well, the fact that, Elizondo is opening up the moon conversation again, it is a little bit interesting to see that, he is saying there are things up there. But the question, once again, is what? Because we get left with this lead on that, hey, wait till the end of the night and then we'll go home together. You know what I'm saying? Only to catch a cab and get the hell out of Dodge. So, I mean, it is one of those things that is very frustrating about this field, Grant, when, he gives us a little morsel of information that leaves us wanting more. But of course, due to his NDAs or whatever, he can't say anything.
Yes and no. I mean, he can't say anything, but he is leaving clue words. When you say habitation and artifacts, that means there's either structures or ancient outposts or even technological debris. There could be anything up there. When it comes to what he's saying, I mean, if life is, he even quoted, or I'm going to quote this, much more pervasive than we thought, the moon might be an archaeological gold mine. Either something's there. I mean, he's hinting at it. He's not going to say exactly what it is or what he's seen and what he knows or the pictures he's seen. I mean, we've been like a little carrot in front of us, in front of a bunny all the time, where we've seen pictures of NASA scientists with a computer, and there's a picture of the moon and there's a structure there, and we catch it, and we got a lot of sleuths out there, and it's it's just fun. I mean, I would love to know what's up there. I'll probably never be there. Uh, I don't know if they're actually going to tell us if they find anything up there. I think they already have, and they're just not letting out the goods. They give us pictures in the second tranche about the Apollo missions, taking a picture, and just above the surface of the moon in space, you can see the little purple, triangle that's out there, or blue, purple, whatever color it is. We're catching these things, and realistically, they're giving the most highly redacted, low-hanging fruit that they can give us. And those are already like, whoa, what the heck is that? And what are you talking about? There might be archaeological sites there, or bases, or some type of people, who knows? And it just like that little part of your brain that says, man, I want more. And it might just be a media hit, like, hey, check this out, let's get more clicks and likes and views. But realistically, I think it's fun. When he says that life is much more pervasive than we thought, what's that law everybody talks about? Well, if there's so much life out there, how come we've never seen anybody? I think life doesn't have to be exactly what we are. And there might be structures out there. There might even be people on the moon that we don't even know about. It'd be great to find out.
Well, that is part of the mystery, and eventually we hopefully will be able to get that figured out. We want to be able to get it figured out.
Isn't there an Artemis mission that's going to do like a lunar base? I believe so, right?
Well, I mean, it would be interesting. Like, here's a start. If you bring up Artemis, let's bring up Artemis 2 that just went around the moon. What did they see? Right? What did they see?
They saw exactly what the Apollo mission saw.
Well, there is that possibility, but because they were very proud to announce that they were going to fly past in orbit the original Apollo 11 landing. So what did they see? Did they see anything?
Well, there was I don't want to go into full tinfoil hat conspiracy, but the gal that went on that mission, she was in an interview and she was talking to a bunch of people with a little microphone, but she had an earpiece in. And she started to say something, but she didn't go far enough and they stopped her. And she's like, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm going to get in trouble here. And it's like, what did you see? Because I don't think they're telling us. I don't think they're telling us at all. I think it was, there was a gentleman that had talked to him. It's like, hey, just take your cam off real quick and show us this and that. And of course, data on the module is very limited. And so they were only allowed to do certain things, but I don't think they were allowed to show like the dark side of the moon, or take a camera and just sit there and film it all the way around, because you have billions of people that are watching, and half of those people are going to go pixel by pixel to try to figure out what's on the moon. And I don't think they're going to allow us to see that.
You're exactly right. And this was the first time that I believe that we know of that cell phones were introduced where they could take their own pictures and videos.
Correct.
So that is the big question. What did they capture? What did they see?
I bet they're excited to see what they saw, and that's the reason why they were so happy when they got back.
Well, I think they were more happy that they could actually get out of that capsule and move. Putting 4 people in that thing for 10 days without a working properly bathroom.
Or a stick of deodorant.
Right? It's pretty harsh. What else you got for us?
Oh, goodness. We got another good one here. So we were talking about the movie. Now I just blanked out, but Disclosure Day. Thank you. So Gary Nolan had said something in an interview, and this is a quote from him. It says, the UFO phenomena has been here a long time and probably predates human civilization. And I kind of agree with that, actually. I mean, if they're that far advanced. And there was says Stanford pathology professor and UAP expert Gary Nolan breaks down Steven Spielberg's new film Disclosure Day and the real science behind potential extraterrestrial tech. and this was inspired by Close Encounters. Nolan has analyzed anomalous material like nearly pure silicon from the 1950s Brazil with the unusual isotope ratios and metals from Council Bluffs, Iowa that don't match human manufacturing. I've heard that we can do it, but it broke machines and cost way too much money to try to do it. He also states the universe is 14 billion years old, and by 2 billion years after the universe started, all the elements of life were available. We've had 12 billion years of somebody to evolve and produce technology. He stresses focusing on data first. Don't start with the conclusion that it is or isn't something. Start with what might it be based on the data. And when you look at his approach, exactly what the UFO field needs more of, I guess, it would be, in his case, it's just pure 100% data-driven material. He's a scientist. And by stripping away the stigma and treating anomalous materials like, the Council Bluffs fragments or the Brazilian silicon, however you say that word, it's got to go through like a rigorous pathology test, where they're using tools for human medical anomalies. He also bridges the gaps between fringe speculation and hard physics. So there is a point in there, his point about the age of the universe is kind of a striking piece of perspective, I'd call it. If the fundamental building blocks of life, were cooked up in the stars, and within 2 billion years, any civilization with a massive head start could develop technologies that appear entirely magic to us. And it's incredible. But he's also talking about Steven Spielberg's movie, and he's drawing directly from this modern day Disclosure Day movie. And here it says he's returning to the genre with a narrative heavily inspired by recent whistleblower history of the 2017 Pentagon exposure. And he's also bringing it around full circle with Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And it's really interesting when you're talking about Disclosure Day, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And it's a brilliant way to capture what they call the cultural zeitgeist, and using Steven Spielberg's narrative and movie and thoughts on UAP data and congressional testimonies, and how his lifetime fascination is what it says with the sky shaped the themes behind Disclosure Day. So there's a breakdown here there's a core argument, I guess you would call it, and there's a few pieces here. Like, if the integration for life were fully cooked by star systems 12 billion years ago,
Yes.
and they had a billion-year head start on humanity, where would they be? They would be magical to us. They'd be gods. Would you agree with that?
Definitely they would be. But don't you get a little bit tired, Grant, of everybody trying to tie Steven Spielberg's movie Disclosure Day, which will be out on the 12th, to the disclosure movement, thinking that it's going to make, a big push towards all of what we're learning right now? Because I think it's dangerous for the UFO community to try and say Spielberg is going to be the disclosure savior in some way.
Yeah, either it's a real big media grab, and I do admit to that, but knowing Spielberg's thought process on UFOs and extraterrestrials, he's a full-on believer. And then knowing that Close Encounters of the Third Kind was in a fashion based on an actual occurrence, especially when he got the information, from the powers that be, and were able to present them in Hollywood film and say, hey, this is a cool movie and it's a science fiction flick. But at the same time, he had an inside scoop. And so it would really be, and especially with the path that I'm going down now, especially when it comes to consciousness driven stuff, and getting down into the quantum levels, especially with the new quantum chips and everything that's been going on, besides the nuts, bolts UFOs that are flying around the sky that we're seeing. I'm looking a little deeper into that now. And his movie, when it came out and I got to watch the very first, episode or commercial about it, when they did the little release, it was very interesting to watch it because I was like, wait a second, he's tapping into exactly what I'm digging into right now. So does he have an inside scoop or does he not? He might. And the timing of it is either a huge media grab. Everybody's going to go watch this movie because right now you have UFOs, aliens, David Grush, all these people in the Congress, representatives talking about it. All these, it's just timing is perfect. Like it couldn't be more perfect, and it almost so perfect that it looks like a setup. And I understand that, but at the same time, it also might be like, hey, this is so perfect, it looks like a setup, but there's real stuff in here. And I'm gonna watch it, and I know you are too. Don't you already have your ticket?
Man, I'll be happy if my theater gets this movie in the next 2 months, 3 months, if at all.
Yeah, I'll just fly you down here and we can both watch it together.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when you live rurally, like I do. I mean, my goodness, if I didn't have my son outside instead of getting ready for going to bed and ready for school, if I didn't have him, riding the stationary bike to create electricity around here for our signal, we'd never have a show.
Dude, I can imagine him in the background right now, just pedaling away. Go, Dad, go. Talk about the moon.
Here's my thoughts on the whole Disclosure Day. I think it's dangerous to put that on Spielberg, whether he was tipped off that this was going to happen or not. I mean, we know the movie was delayed coming out.
Right.
Okay. I believe by a year we had heard about this. Now, I cannot confirm that. That's just what I have heard. If somebody knows differently, please correct me. I'm okay with that. But the idea that it happens at this time, is it more than just coincidence, or is it about more to do with the fact that he was told to hold off and let's do this together? Because the 12th is going to be an important day. If you notice, last week they did not drop a UFO file, the third tranche. They had been doing it 2 weeks in between the first two. So last week would have been 2 weeks from the last one, but they're waiting 3 weeks to coincide with the Disclosure Day movement.
Right.
Or movie, pardon me. So is that coincidence on the government's part by doing this? Because somebody said that will be very cool. Or are they doing it because it's just going to mean more and maybe they're going to throw some meat on the bone for us with the latest tranche? Either way, we won't know. We'll have to wait. And it's going to be exciting to wait for. That is for sure. Grant, thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio with the UFO Report. Never shave your mustache again, my friend.
You got it.
As we say goodbye to Grant, and hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, hell yeah, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, Grant Baker.
Same to you, bud. Good luck tonight on your WABC.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Everybody meet Winnie. Here's Winnie. Say hi. Say hi. Oh, hi. You grunt a lot, kiddo. Yes, you do. She's mad at me for staying up so late.
What's her name?
Winnie. So she's AKC, and when you register a dog under AKC, you have to pick a name, and then they tell you if it's available or not. And it wasn't, so we had to name her Winifred. And so we... but we call her Winnie.
So they don't allow you to name your own dog?
You can name your own dog whatever you want, but the name that you put on the AKC paperwork, because she's purebred, and I got breeding rights, and that is specific. They only allow a certain amount, and then the last name. So my last name is Baker, so it's like one of those common names in the world. And then so when we tried Winnie Baker, that was already taken, so we had to do Winifred. And so yeah. But if she ever has puppies in the near future, if you want a purebred French bulldog, I'll have one for you. Look how cute she is.
Mm.
And that's a face only a father could love, huh?
Are you talking about yourself or the dog?
Oh, my parents didn't love my face no matter what. Oh, yeah. Nope, you just sneezed on me. Thanks. All right. Now are we waiting for your phone call?
Yeah, we're going to have a phone call coming down here any minute. I will be on WABC out of New York with Mr. Walter Sterling. And I think we're going to talk about the Elizondo thing.
There you go.
There we go. There we go. So big thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Necessary Dialogue, Levelhead, Divine Diamond, and Kitty Cattywhack for the super chats. It greatly helps what we do each and every night here on this show, everybody. So thank you very, very much for your love. I really do appreciate it. We're going to get on out of here because my phone is going to ring. Tomorrow night on the show, we're getting into the Mandela effect with your favorite and mine. Sandy Diva will be here, and I look forward to having you all here as well. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.